Here we go, guys. So we're back with another 2K video. This time we're going to look at 10 times we wasted our life playing this game this year, right? So, again, everything about 2K has been no life in the game, us aimlessly grinding for cards, and I'm going to give you 10 examples of cards that were the most aimless grinds of them all. Literally pointless grinds, but stuff we spent weeks and weeks and weeks and tons of mental energy on. Try to get these cards for absolutely no reason. Zero reason at all in a lot of these instances. Now, some of the cards on this list you'll consider controversial. Some of the cards you think maybe shouldn't be on this list, but I'll explain as we go along why each card is there. And really it comes down to the amount of time we put in versus how practical and how used that card was by the time we got him. So, guys, like and subscribe as always. Thank you for your continued support. Let's jump into this. So at number 10, I told you it would be controversial, but we've got Terry Dishinger. Now, when he came out, he was one of the best cards in the game. So, Jazz, why are you putting him on this list? Well, here's the answer. I was very fortunate. I got him in 5 games. I don't know anyone who got him that quickly. And at the time, for some reason, up until about May, I was pulling every Vault reward in like every 5 to 10 games. It was just crazy. Like the RNG was on my side. I was having a great time with it. It wasn't an issue, but that doesn't change the fact that my entire timeline was filled with people saying that they played 200, 500, 1,000, even 2,000 games for this card. And in some instances, people played 2,000 games and never even got him. To say that that was a worthwhile grind, to say that people spent an entire season doing nothing else but grinding for this card and didn't even get him, means he has to be on this list. Now, if you did get him, you got him early and it wasn't a huge sweat, then, you know, it was a good result for you. But he had to be on this list somewhere purely for the people that didn't get him, or the people that really had to know life this game for 6 weeks while trying to do everything else, your XP agenda and unlimited and all of that stuff. It was just so incredibly toxic, and it really defined RNG for 2K this year. This card had to be on this list. I didn't really know where to put it because it depends who you are. For me, he shouldn't be on this list. For someone who played 2,000 games and didn't even get him, there's an argument he could be number 1 on this list. Now at number 9, we've got Pau Gasol. Now there's going to be more limited rewards on here because there is a trend with limited rewards. You get the card, he's usable for about 2 weeks, and then you replace it. So the grind is always pointless. Now with limited, for me, I find limited fun. Even once I get my ring every week, I keep playing. So I can't really take an L personally with limited. I just find the game mode quite enjoyable. But you have to break it down. Now, there's a lot of cards that could have been on this list. There's cards like Russell Westbrook who aren't on this list because I did run Russell Westbrook for a while. There's a few cards. Jaylen Brown could have been on this list, but he isn't. I did run him for a while. This Pau Gasol never got used. I did a gameplay, and he was out of the team after that gameplay. This card just wasn't used, and it's very rare. Unless you're using him for like Lakers XP or something like that, the card is literally useless. I don't think anyone ran him. We had so many OP centers by the time this card came out that he, to me, was absolutely useless. I hated his jump shot. Absolutely hated it, even though it was on very quick. It was one of the first cards that had a very quick jumper, so everyone was excited about it. It felt slower than most normal releases. This card was an absolute L. One of the least used cards in my collection, especially when you consider the amount of time I put in to actually go and get him. Now, if you don't like limited, this is even worse, but Pau Gasol absolutely has to be on this list. At number 8, now this might be a surprise again. Like I said, I'm balancing the time it took to get the player versus how much a player was used. And Vince Carter was, you know, that card that was available straight away. Shout out to SP for getting him in 28 hours. It didn't take me 28 hours. It took me a couple of weeks of constant grinding to get Vince Carter. It took me a 3-day non-stop grind at one point, so I pretty much played the game for like, you know, 3 days straight to get this Vince Carter. I liked Vince when he dropped, but he left my team within about 4 or 5 days. That's the truth. It just wasn't that guy. I mean, we got Elgin Baylor in the same season. I got both cards roughly the same time, and Elgin just took Vince's spot. If you compare the Elgin grind to the Vince grind is just a complete L. No one is running this card. It's still the most recent level 40 reward outside of Luka. It's only a couple of weeks ago where he was available. Nobody is running this card. Absolutely nobody. So we have to acknowledge it. I don't really know why. There's just something about the card that just feels off for me. Like, if you compare him to, like, Elgin's jump shot, it's just not close. And where we are in the game right now, this Vince card just isn't it. It is intangibles. I will say that. Like, if you look at the card on paper, it looks good, but it just doesn't translate to in-game. Vince was still a hell of a grind. Okay, it was an easier XP sort of season, but you can't ignore the fact that it took SP 28 hours, which means it took us at least 20 to 24 hours, depending on when we did it in the season. We put in a whole day's grind, like entire full day, 24 hours worth of time to go and get this card, and none of us ran it. That's the truth. Very, very few of us ran it, if anyone did. Now, at number 7, we've got J.R. Smith. And Vince and J.R. could be interchangeable depending on how you look at it. But J.R. for me was a much, much tougher grind than Vince. But it was a very similar situation. I used Vince for about a week. I used J.R. for about a week. Both of them left my team because we had better cards out. We had like Opal Luka and things like that at the time. These grinds just weren't worth it. But JR was a tough grind. It wasn't a 20-hour grind. It was way, way more than that, which is why he's ahead of Vince. I think they had similar returns. I probably used JR a little bit more than I used Vince. But like I said, just the time that went into getting this card and how underwhelming it was at the end of the day, he has to be on this list. Like, this card in the auction house right now would be going for about 40 to 50k. And I think when he came out, he wouldn't have been going for more than sort of around 100k, maybe 150, even at the time he came out. Because there was just way, way better cards, you know, in the game at that time. It was also part of the kind of glitched reality season, which was just an RNG L, like, all over. Just everything about it was terrible. So he kind of defined a really bad season as a whole for 2K. But JR has to be on this list. Like I said, it's the time we put in versus the amount of time we spent using that card. And this one is off the scales in that ratio. Now for me, we start to get into some of the bigger hitters in this conversation. At number 6, we've got Damian Lillard, the 2000 card collector award. By the time this guy was actually available, he was completely redundant in the game. Like, completely redundant. He could actually be way, way higher on this list, but I think very few people actually sort of put in the grind to get this Lillard. I think people realized very quickly that collecting 2000 cards just wasn't worth it. And yeah, Lillard has to be on this list. Has to be on this list. Now, Tatum isn't on this list because the card is good and still usable today. It's still an OP card, but Tatum could be on this list for similar reasons. He's easily the most expensive card in the game. People have spent $10,000 of real money to get Tatum. If you look at that as a comparison, but again, it's not really a grind with Tatum. You just got to sink your life savings into it. So that's why he's off this list. But Lillard, by the time he came out, you know, he was just useless. A 6'2" point guard with, you know, not even having half clamps. Absolutely useless. Absolutely useless at this point. Like, the cards that we had in comparison, again, when Lillard came out, it wasn't even close. I mean, D Wade, the XP reward was available like months before you could get hold of this Lillard. And he was a better card. That's the truth. So most of us already had a way better card than this was ever going to be when it dropped. It's a huge L. Number 6, Damian Lillard Collector Award. At number 5, we've got a card that's currently available in the game. It's Drazen Petrovic for Unlimited. He is a top 5 L for this year. And shout out to 2K for still providing Ls this late in the year. Absolutely pointless. I mean, the irony about this card is if you're actually going to get the card, if you're going to finish Unlimited, you've probably got a squad that's so OP that Drazen could never ever make that squad. But the truth is, anyone's squad right now, you're not running Drazen. We've already covered 2 players in this list that I would run over Drazen. That's where we're at. Like, you can get the most cracked out shooting guards for about 10k right now in the auction house. Why would anyone run this card? I mean, we've had the Van Arsdale twins who've got elite jump shots at 6'5". You could run them. Why would you run Petrovic? There isn't a reason. There literally isn't a reason to run this card. And that, again, is the irony. Everyone who gets this card, everyone who's good enough at this game and has a good enough squads to go out and get this card, is never going to use it. I haven't seen one clip anywhere of someone using this card. And considering we're at a point in Unlimited where, you know, SPMM is being argued, is it there, is it not? I feel like it's gone. Maybe that's just because I'm having a good run in the game. But, you know, I'm about to attempt to go 12-0. We're in the Galaxy Opal tier. I guarantee you if I do go 12-0, this is just going to be a trophy, nothing else. I will never ever use this card. It's just never going to make my team. Ever. So yeah, number 5, Dragic Petrovic, the current unlimited reward. That's crazy. At number 4, I put in Kelly Olynyk, but you can literally take any of these season rewind rewards. What on earth are 2K doing with this set? Like, why do these cards exist? So they put in cards in the XP agenda, Kelly Olynyk being one of them. There's a few others as well. Like, let's just have a look at the whole set. There we go. These are the cards, right? Let's stick to Kelly for a second. 250 XP for, like, completing, like, these OP challenges. Let's just look at this card. This card came out in mid-June, right? Mid-June. 70 speed, 65 speed with ball. What is this card? Look at the badges. Like, look at the no showtime, no deadeye, like, no clamps. No clamps on this card. And, to cap it all off, they provided XP for Blake, where you have to use 13 season rewind cards, and you can't even use these cards. Literally, like, what? Why? Why does this exist? You can get, like, 5,000 XP for completing, like, challenges with, like, a Galaxy Opal that's, like, 6k in the game right now. Why does this even exist? So, guaranteed, easily top 5. Honestly, I was thinking this is a contender for number 1. It really is. I'll put it here for a reason because of the cards coming ahead of it. But this was just, I don't know what 2K were on when they created these agendas. Like, it is just, I cannot make any sense of it whatsoever. If you know why this happened, leave it in the comments. I'm stuck. I don't know. At number 3, we've got Ralph Sampson. Now, Ralph Sampson was the original limited reward. Now, I didn't do this because I didn't really understand limited at the time. I was actually just playing unlimited in Season 1. But I saw people doing it. And I have a Facebook page. It's got about 400 members. And all I saw every weekend was people like, I played 20 games, I played 25 games, I played 30 games to get the ring. It hasn't even appeared. I think we forget how toxic limited was at the start of the year, because I think the odds have got better as the year's gone on. Like, you will usually get the ring between 5 and 10 games. But with Ralph, people were playing 25, 30 games every weekend for this card. So people might have played 150 games of limited in a season to get Ralph Sampson. That's where we're at. Maybe more, maybe more. Look at this card. Even at that point in the game, he was a pink diamond, he was an early pink diamond, fair enough. The date added September the 4th, but obviously he was available way later than that. By the time he came out, people were running, like, rubies over this card. Like, Dino Raja ruby card was a better center than this card. Like, he just was. It's 95 pink diamond. Look at the card. 37 speed with ball. 73-point shot. But, like, even with 73-point shot, which wasn't bad for the time, this jump shot is horrendous. Like, on normal, it's horrendous. Unusable. Literally unusable. I did run this card on someone else's account. I couldn't believe how bad it was. Like, it was horrendous. So, yeah. Sampson takes a huge L. Has to be in the top 3. It absolutely has to be. Like I said, looking back at how toxic limited was at the time, you know, remember, we didn't have many cards. We were trying to fit into the requirements. There was so much going on early in the year that made limited something that even I just didn't want to play. I just wasn't bothered with it. This was a bad card. Bad card for the time. And again, people were running rubies over this card. Like, that's where we were. So at number 2, we've got Patrick Ewing, the unlimited reward. Now, if you go back and remember how toxic unlimited was at the time, I didn't even play it this season. I played a few games. I just didn't want to go anywhere near it. It was so toxic. And the one thing that was really obvious is this card was completely pointless. Like, similar to Ralph Sampson before him, he was available a season later. So we had some decent centers in the game by the time Patrick Ewing came out. But this card didn't have one redeemable quality for me. 69 free ball, again, an absolutely horrendous jump shot, which is Patrick Ewing's on normal. Shout out to you if you ever hit a 3 with this card. Speed at 44. I mean, lateral quickness at 68. Even a 64 steal. I mean, he was just absolute garbage. Like, I've never played anyone who used this card that had any level of luck with it. Again, like I said, similar to Ralph Sampson, we were running rubies over this card. That's what we were doing. There was rubies in the game that were just way better. I think Season 2, we already had cards like Ilyasova. We had cards that could shoot threes. Lambeer was in the game. Like, we had rubies that could really stretch the floor. Why would you ever use this card? What is he doing for you? He literally cannot score the ball. There's nothing he can do to score them all. In like, we were full and current gen then, our next gen wasn't out. No speed glitch, no 3-ball. What is he doing for you? Absolutely nothing. Literally nothing. This card was a huge L. And a real warning shot from 2K, I think, in the second season about how bad the unlimited rewards were going to be that year. But this was just an absolute joke. No showtime. Not even bronze for Patrick Ewing. Like, clamps, no. Let's not even worry about range. Like, what? Like, what? What does this card have? Someone tell me what this card... Tell me a redeeming feature of this card. Leave it in the comments. Tell me one good thing about Patrick Ewing as an unlimited reward. What an L. What a grind. Especially at the time to get this card. My goodness. And at number 1, it has to be Baron Davis. Oh my goodness. What a colossal L this was for 2K. In so many ways. Let's break it down. So we spent 3 or 4 weeks doing nothing. Nothing but trying to get this card. It's going to be one of the first Galaxy Opals in the game. We're all so hyped. Baron Davis is a decent card. You know, he has been in previous 2Ks. We were hyped. We have never been so hyped. And 2K made sure that we were hyped. They were posting about it every day. Every day there was new content to go and get Baron Davis. Play triple threat online for RJ and, you know, get AI out of these locker codes and get Ja and all of these different things. And the infuriating nature of the way the RNG played out. It was the first real kind of hardcore RNG model from 2K. People were losing their minds. Oh, what if I don't get Ja? I missed him on the locker code. People were grinding aimlessly, playing hundreds of games of limited to, you know, try and get those cards back. Now, I had a good run with this card. To be honest, I got everything almost first time. So all the locker code cards I got out of the locker code, so I didn't have to play limited to get them. TT Online, I got RJ straight away. I had an easy run with this card. Still wasn't worth it. Still wasn't worth it. Some people did nothing else, guys, this season apart from try and get Baron Davis. And here's where it falls down. No Showtime dunks for Baron Davis. That's where it fell down. Now, I didn't mind the card when he came out. He had, you know, Lillard's jump shot. He was okay. But again, by the time he dropped, he was already outdated, guys. There was already point guards in the game that were way, way better than this card. And, like, let me remind you, we literally did nothing else for about 3 or 4 weeks. We literally did nothing else but try and get this Baron Davis card. That's what we did. Let me tell you how bad it was. Baron Davis himself tweeted out saying, "Where are my Showtime dunks?" Baron Davis called out 2K about how bad this card is. And they didn't even acknowledge it, just putting it out there. Easily the biggest L of the year. The time versus usage of this card, it's the worst. It's the worst ratio by a mile. And I think the hype that went into it made it even worse. Horrendous card. Just a horrendous card. That's it, guys. That's the video. That's 10 times we wasted our life this year grinding for pointless cards. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you agree, disagree. Let me know if there's some cards I missed. Let me know if there's some cards that you think shouldn't be on this list. You let me know. But these are cards, a lot of these cards, some of them I didn't go for, some of them I did. But all the ones I went for, I regret. I'm not going to lie. Apart from Terry. Terry gets a pass because I got him in 5 games. That's it, guys. Until next time, thanks for watching.